Very good afternoon to you. This is Good Afternoon, Ghana. You're welcome. My name is Sani, and we're live from the Kwadwo studio. So what's on the table now has to do with a dispute between two countries that seem to be affecting the world. If well, not yet have affected everywhere, it seems to be affecting the world with other economic indicators, especially fuel prices. So we're talking about Russia and Ukraine, and that will be on the table today. We're looking at its impact, of course, across the world. What are also Ghanaians doing when other countries were making efforts to evacuate its nationals from, Ukraine? Ghana was dragging its feet. Now, it has become imminent that we really have to bring our people out of Ukraine. How are we going to do that now that borders have been shut? And also, planes, of course, cannot fly. Let's see what we can do. We're going to analyze the issue with some guests that I'll have with me on the show this afternoon. So we are actually expecting to be joined by some experts and analysts to talk about what is happening in Ukraine and Russia today. So we would have our security analyst with us, Adib Sani, to join us on this discussion. Also, Benjamin Boateng is a P.R.O of NUGS in Ukraine. He will join us. We also have Kwadwo Nketiah, who is an international relations expert, to look at how we would handle the issues as far as international relationship is concerned. Also, Frimpong will help us understand the economic indicators that we're already recording as far as the dispute between Ukraine, or misunderstanding, if you may, Ukraine and Russia is concerned. Let's go for a break. We'll be back with the details. For now, we're going to the details of what is happening with Russia and Ukraine. Of course, we're looking at the economic indicators, what we're experiencing now. We'll look at the security analysis of it. We'll also turn our attention to some of our students there who are pleading to be evacuated. Some of them are actually helping themselves. We'll try and get into the Ukraine and give you details. But what do we know about the people say when you say invasion, you are taking sides already. So, well, we don't know how to describe it. Is it not invasion yet? Anyway, let's look at what we know about the invasion of Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin also earlier this week announced a military operation in Ukraine. Now, Russian tanks and troops yesterday poured into Ukraine from Russia, Belarus, and Crimea, a territory annexed by Russia in 2014. Explosions were heard across the country, and I'm sure you've seen some of the pictures and the videos in our news items. Ukraine's president and Russia had carried out missile strikes. Russia said it was targeting military infrastructure. Remember that there was some military drops that were told that hit the civilian residents, or where civilians were occupying. So Ukrainian armed force said they had shot down a Russian aircraft. Russian Defense Ministry denied the claims. Emergency sirens went off yesterday in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, and many remain stranded as thousands flee the city. Many people in Kyiv also have sought shelter in underground metro stations. The U.S. has since imposed sanctions on four of Russia's largest banks. In addition, two financial institutions the U.S. sanctioned earlier this week. Russian fighter jets, tanks have been spotted in Kyiv as Putin forces enter Ukraine's capital. Thousands of Russia have protested President Putin's assault on Ukraine. All right, so those are some updates that I can give you, snippets of it, just in case you want to know what has happened so far. Now, let's go on to Zoom. Benjamin Boateng is a P.R.O of NUGS in Ukraine. Benjamin, thank you for joining us. You're welcome to Good Afternoon, Ghana. Where are you now? As I speak with you, where are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm in Sumy, the eastern part of Ukraine.
The eastern part of why are you not moving to the western part, as you have actually indicated that you're organizing some of your team or your students to move? What's going on?
Yes, yes, so it
We're
cities.
trying. We're trying to have a conversation with Benjamin Boateng, who is a P.R.O for NUGS in Ukraine. I'm sure he's just having some challenges on his line. Benjamin, are you back? Can you go ahead?
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, so like I said, the movement of or the migration of people from different cities to cities where relatively the attack is a bit less, it depends, of course, on the situation that is present in the city.
Right.
Some cities have the buses that are able to move quite freely, I would say, and other cities, the whole city is grounded. So if you look at my city, which is Sumi, our city is a bit grounded. We do not have buses that are transporting us from this city to other places. And so that's why I've not moved, and other Ghanaians are still grounded here in this city.
So where you are, I can see you are in a bedroom or in your room. So where are
Yeah, I'm in my
you?
room.
You are in your room.
I'm in my apartment in my room, yeah.
Okay, how many of your colleagues are with you there?
I'm alone. It's my apartment, so I'm just with my roommates.
Do you have apartment mates?
Yes, just one who is a Nigerian.
Okay, you have one mate, apartment mate, who's a Nigerian. And
Yes,
where you are, mention where did you say you are again?
I'm in Sumi,
Sunni.
Sumy, Sumi.
Sunni. So is a Sunni place you are safe? Does it look like it's safe?
Well, right now, generally speaking, if we talk about a city that is safe, I don't think that anybody can, place fully his hand on the fact that this city is safe. You can only say one is relatively better than the other, but to claim a city as safe, it's something that we can't count our chickens yet that a city is safe. Like you were talking about the number of students, I'm just 2 minutes away from a hostel, which I know quite a number of Ghanaian students are found. And so, in terms of communication, they've reached out to me yesterday night. For the last 24 hours, I've been speaking to so many Ghanaians from that hostel because we, of course, had bombings in my city, a military base that is close to us. So people called and people were worried. Deacon, can you confirm this? Can you confirm that this has happened? We checked and we realized that yes, this issue had happened in my city, and so that was it. And then when it happens like that, the main measures that we can take is that we encourage people to go to what we call bomb shelters. Bomb shelters, if you look at the history of the Soviet Union, you realize that the architecture of buildings is that you have to go underground. They built underground so that during those times of history in the Soviet Union, when the war is intense, you can hide yourself underground. And one way or the other, these hostels that I'm talking about have got these places. More than 3 minutes.
Right, we're having a discussion with Benjamin. Benjamin is the NUGS P.R.O, and he's speaking to us on what's happening with them. Benjamin Boateng, NUGS P.R.O, speaking to us on what's happening with them in Ukraine. Benjamin, can you continue now? So you say that
Yes,
some of you are seeking shelter under the bomb shelters. I want you to describe how these bomb shelters look like. You're talking about how it came from the Soviet Union. What was that?
Are you having problem with my internet?
I
Maybe
can,
I can
yeah,
change the device
yeah.
because it might be very smooth.
I have interference once in a while, but we can manage. So go ahead now.
Yes, so like I was saying, yes, we seek refuge in the bomb shelters, and the bomb shelters are underground. Because, of course, these places are, it's an old place. You'd expect that it's not a five-star place. It's not really a place where maybe there are, should I say, lavatories to keep people, or lavatory, or should I say, places where people can, ease themselves in cold. So, these are places that are old, and then it's just for safety. It's not a place where you can sit down, relax, or, really enjoy comfort. That's not the situation.
Does it prevent you from being affected in case of a bombing attack?
Well, it will. If you say prevent, it can't prevent, because if the enemy is looking for you, he knows. If Russia is looking for you, they have been in the Soviet Union for years, and definitely they will know the situation. So if you say it will prevent, it won't prevent. It can only keep you, or it can be an interim plan for now. That is how we will put it.
I see. I'm asking this question because there are some analysts who have indicated that we are painting the picture as though, Ukraine is not well protected. And it was mentioned, it was one of the protection points that were mentioned as the underground bomb shelters. And so I'm not surprised you are even mentioning bomb shelters. I'm just wondering if it provides any level or amount of safety at all.
Yes, if you say safety, like I'm saying, it's an interim plan. But
Yeah.
if you want to talk about protection, I believe that if you should release a nuclear weapon, we will not be able to even blink our eye till we are all dead. So we can't say it prevents. It's an interim situation that we have in the country, and that is what we can look at now. But to say prevent, no, the word prevent doesn't come in now.
The what's it called? The hostel, the students' hostel that's close by, and the Ghanaians
Yes.
that are in this hostel. Do you know? What courses they're reading, their estimated number, if you can tell us. Hello, Benjamin.
But I can give you an
Okay, so
average.
wait.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. What can you tell us about these students that are in the hostel close by you?
Yes, what I can tell you about them is that now they are in constant connection with us. We are looking at, for example, the number alone in my city, we are looking at about 120 people, right?
That is
And
in
then these
Sunni.
people, in Sumi
Okay.
alone. If you want to talk about the population within Ukraine, Ghanaian students, you can just estimate about 1,500 people. Let me put it that way.
Right. And what
Yes.
have they done so far? Are they also staying in their hostel? Because information from the Foreign Affairs Ministry here in Ghana has actually sent a caution that they would rather you stay in your abode and not really be moving about. We've had a discussion with an international relations expert this afternoon on Newsbeat, who has also indicated that moving is riskier than just staying put.
So for us, what they are doing right now is so let me get your question. So your question is whether the moving is better than the staying. Is that your
Right.
question?
Right.
Yes. For me, I would say that for us right now, we will say it depends again on the city. There are some cities that movement is okay. So if you are able to move, you move. I know that for me, my city, for example, I would advise people to stay. Right now, the way the whole situation is moving, right? It's now almost, for example, 4:17 in my city. If you decide to travel from my city to the neighboring city, the least you would have is 3 hours. So that means that by 7 p.m. or by 6 p.m., you'll be en route to a different city. This is a time of war. In the evening, you are traveling. You don't know what is going to happen. So I would advise people that when it is towards this time, please stay in your room, stay in your abode, and be safe. If you have the opportunity and you think that you are very sure that the road is clear and you want to move, move. But for my people in this city, I would advise them stay in your place, because if I am to reach the nearest city, the least is 3 hours, and by 6 p.m. I'll still be on route to a different city. And then if there is a bomb strike or anything, it will be deadly for us. That depends on the city. Other cities are able to move. Other cities are able to. People have chartered buses and are moving, and it's good for them, because from the beginning, should I say, early morning up to now, we have heard people have been able to get to certain cities in the west where we think that it's relatively easy when it comes to the attacks, or it's relatively better when it comes to the attack than others. So it's a mixed thing. It's not, you can't make a general statement.
Right. So,
For them.
So, Benjamin, how about you moving, those you say are moving with buses? Do they have any security escort? Do you have any monitoring, something security to monitor you and ensure your safety in your movement? Also, in the afternoon, we had the information that some of the students were moving to Romania. Have you picked intel on this? And what can you say to that too?
Yes, when you are moving from your city to the other cities, you don't have any escort. You do not have any escort because now the situation, the country is trying to defend itself. So I don't think that the country will have that enough personnel again to escort a bus that is traveling from one city to the other. So you don't have any escort. It's your bus and yourself. If you are able to go, you thank your God, and then we hope that people will be able to get there. But you were talking about the Romania situation. Yes, we have had people that have been able to travel from different parts of the country to two cities, and I repeat, two cities for now. I know of Lviv, which is closer to Poland, and I know of Chernetsy, which is closer to Romania, as you said. We know people that have been able to make it to these cities and now are in buses that are going to these places. But to say that they have successfully reached this, I can't confirm, because the people that I have spoken to, all are people that are saying, oh, the P.R.O, we are en route to Romania. But as to the fact that we have been able to get on the ground, it's not something that is confirmed.
Are you in contact with them, those who've been able to inform you that they are en route?
Yes, so I'm in contact with them. Just before I came on the show, I had calls from different people. Yes, so I'm in contact with them.
I can understand that the country obviously has a bigger, task on its hand, or the president Zelensky must have some, big task to perform. But its citizens are also very important, and also other nationals from other countries are his responsibilities. Is he not making any effort of guiding you, not necessarily providing escort if that is almost impossible? Is he not guiding with information, intel, or whatever of that nature?
Yes, of course. Information and the guidance you are talking about is in. I mean, there are various agencies. You talk about mayor of cities, you talk about institutions, schools, and sending information into people's emails, and then trying to get them information on how to behave in these trying times. Of course, so you would realize that that aspect of the work is being done. So that one you have to we can say it is working. I mean, the guide and even the buses. I mean, people send information. Many people are following his account now, and so to
All right, we're having some challenges, but we'll manage the situation and see if we can get some more information from Benjamin. Benjamin, are you still there? Okay, Benjamin is there. Let me just hold you on and see if I can restore you after I've spoken with Adib Sani. Adib Sani is a security analyst. Adib, thank you for your time, and good afternoon to you. My first time speaking with you on this Ukraine-Russia situation. What do you have to say? What will be your first comments? Okay, so I'm told I've lost Adib. As and when he joins us, we'll see. We'll pick his thoughts as far as the security analysis is concerned. Okay, so let's go on to Zoom again, and so speak with Frimpong. Frimpong Paul is an economist, and he's joined us via Zoom. We're expecting Michael Kwadwo Nketiah soon. But Frimpong, good afternoon. Thank you for your time, and thanks for connecting with us. So, we've already started recording our economic effects from just the first invasion of Ukraine by Russia. What does that mean?
Yes, good afternoon, Annie, and thank you for having me. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Kindly go on.
Perfect. Yes, so obviously, it's a quite common knowledge that looking at how interconnected the world is, looking at how the global economy now is structured. Obviously, anything that is happening in one corner of the world, and this is not even a corner, this is a major event that is happening between Ukraine and Russia. Obviously, we can all expect a very sharp economic implications, which of course it affects immediately the countries that are involved. It affects the neighboring countries. Next, it affects the regional bloc that these countries belong to. And of course, we can all have the spillover effect across all countries in the world. Now, if you look at a country like Russia and how critical it is in some strategic industry that Russia is leading, of course, including Ukraine, it's definitely having a very major impact. We've all seen that we are seeing the commodity prices rising in terms of oil and gas. Now, if you look at that, you can see an alternative path which looks positive, because of course we look at in Africa, for example, we have some oil producing countries in terms commodity price rise, as you've seen. Now oil price has crossed the $100 mark, and it's anticipated that in the next few weeks, in the coming days, we don't hear anything, it can reach the $120 per barrel levels. And when it does, obviously we should expect inflation to rise, because we know how oil and gas is connected to so many things that we do in this world. I mean, all major economic activities hinge on these commodities. So as long as you're going to see transport costs rising, the cost of production going up, you're surely going to experience some high level of inflation that we're going to see. And most importantly, we've all been dealing with the pandemic, the outcome of this coronavirus pandemic. The world is grappling, marshalling investment into healthcare. I mean, that has been an agenda for the last 2 to 3 years since we encountered this coronavirus. Now, in this case, we are going to see a shift as well. So whilst we are still battling with the coronavirus pandemic, trying to rake in billions of dollars to take care of healthcare-related issues, now we have to be looking at rearmament as well. So now, military spending, security spending, now is going to also kick in among countries. So monies which have been earmarked to go into healthcare, education, which we know are critical for us looking at the issues we are dealing with. Now we have to be looking at security concerns as well. So now has to be another outlook that we need to look at in terms of how countries who are already dealing with healthcare-related issues have to now rearrange to also beef up their feet, because you never know what could happen next. So for me, I think it's going to be very tough, and there's a lot of uncertainties happening around the world as a result of this. Now we're seeing financial markets are now, having a lot of disruptions because of this situation. Russia is very critical, especially to Europe, of course, as well as Ukraine. As we all know, these two countries are major exporters of wheat, and wheat, connected to bread and every other related grain items that we consume. So if we're going to experience this, then obviously we should know that it's going to be in the long run affecting the household, it's going to affect firms that directly are involved in these commodities as because of this war, we're going to face these challenges.
Well, so I read earlier on the fact sheets on some of the issues that's happened. We know that US has already placed some bans on the banks, some Russian banks already, and that was after we had already started recording the effects on the fuel products or petroleum products. Are we to expect some more negative impacts?
Most definitely, and I think yes, we've all seen a lot of major economies around the world condemning this act of Russia with this military action that is happening in Ukraine. So sanctions, yes, I'm sure the Russians expected was supposed to come. Obviously, I mean, these are things that have been happening. I think in 2014 we saw the height of it. And all of that. They've been planning, preparing. We've all seen what happened in Crimea recent years and all of that. So they know that there could be, economic implications, but that's about war. When you are preparing to engage, obviously, you will know that there's going to be implications on you. And of course, any other economy that is directly linked to any major thing that you're doing. So, for example, in Africa, we look at Kenya. So, Kenyan tea, Russia is among the top 5 consumers of Kenyan tea. And so, when these things happen, obviously, you can see the economic impact it's going to have on the Kenya. And of course, as I did mention, in terms of the wheat that they export. So, the sanctions will keep coming in, but I believe it has to be very dire. That can really cripple Russia as it is before maybe we can see any something that can affect them to want to withdraw or stop these military attacks that we are seeing. So for the rest of the world, it's going to be a trickle-down effect, as I did mention earlier. We all must start preparing. Governments in terms of their macro and monetary and fiscal policies have to start looking at it urgently, because it has already begun. And we all saw what happened when the COVID-19 started. Those that were not prepared actually had themselves to blame when the outbreak was severe. So for now, I think those are the level of uncertainty is key. And when there's an economic and political uncertainty, trust me, there's always harsh economic condition that follows in this respect.
All right, I will come back to you. Let me go to Adib Sani, security analyst, and let me just also update you that these are the items Russia exports. They export crude petroleum, they export refined petroleum, they export petroleum gas, coal briquettes, they export wheat as well. They export mostly to China, Netherlands, Belarus, Germany, and Italy. And then also, you want to consider what Ukraine also contributes to the world. They export steel, coal, fuel, and petroleum products, chemicals, machinery and transport equipment, and grains like barley or corn and wheat as well. And this is what they also contribute to the wealth. I don't know what your country really, needs that it actually patronize these goods. But of course, petroleum products everywhere we are affected. All right. Let's go to Adib Sani. Adib, thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us on Good Afternoon, Ghana. There are two debates now. One says, what is your problem if a country says, I'm joining NATO? Another says, Russia is justified because of its security reasons it has provided. But I had an international relations expert who was telling us that sometimes in war, you have to tell to justify the decisions you take. What would you say about that?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think that Russia's move is for geopolitical and security expedience sake. Annie, I'm wondering how you would feel like if you know your enemy is living next door. And that's exactly what the Russians don't want. Because what in essence it means when Ukraine joins NATO is America can move all of this arsenal to Ukraine, which is just beside Russia, and can in the future stage attacks against Russian interests because they are at their doorstep. So what Russia wants to do is to keep NATO at an arm's length by creating a buffer between the East and, of course, the West. Since Vladimir Putin became the leader of Russia, there's been 4 waves of NATO expansionism into Eastern Europe, which was in the past unthinkable.
Okay, we're losing Adib's.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead. Yes, please.
So this is also an attempt on the part of Putin to reassert Russian authority and strength in the region. When you follow closely Western media and the things they say about Russia, oh, dwindling force, oh, Russia used to be this, now it is that. So Putin who has serious misgivings about the way Gorbachev and Boris Yeltsin ran Russia and allowed a lot of these countries seed. And they say no war is ever too good or justified, and no peace is ever too bad. Annie, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. I lost you at some point, so I didn't even get the import of your last statement. But however,
okay. So what? Let me repeat it. Let me repeat it.
Okay,
I
quickly.
said, on one hand, Vladimir Putin might be justified because he would wish to reassert Russia's dominance in that region. In fact, if you follow Putin closely, I mean, this is the man I learned a lot from. Okay, he had serious misgivings about the way Gorbachev and Boris Yeltsin ran Russia, especially allowing countries such as Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and the rest, Latvia, to secede from Russia. So this is a classical opportunity for him to send a clear message to the West. But on the other hand, like we say, no peace is ever too bad, and no war is ever too justified. So there's absolutely no justification whatsoever for the needless bloodshed that we are witnessing on TV.
Yeah, but I mean, if on one side we want to consider the fact that Russia may have a point, what is Russia's problem with another country's sovereignty and what it decides to do? Because the picture looks as though Russia does not want to accept that Ukraine is a sovereign nation on its own.
Okay, well, when you look closely at the history of the two countries, they have close ties, okay?
Right.
And there are a lot of Russian-speaking Ukrainians,
yes,
okay, and Russians who owe allegiance to the motherland, okay? Just as we have Taiwan not recognized by a lot of countries, including Ghana, because China sees it as part of it, one China policy, all right? And also Hong Kong with China. All right, the same way Russia sees Ukraine. And
I'm having serious challenge. I think you're talking, but your mic is muted. I don't know how that happened. So Adib, kindly just unmute and then we can have you. But in the meantime, let me come into the studio. Michael Kwadwo Nketiah is with me, international relations analyst, to tell us more. You've been here watching me go through the struggle with my team. We've first spoken with NUGS P.R.O. In Ukraine, and in fact, I think he's bought into the advice that do not move and stay. Is that a good thing? Maybe he's going to send a message across to his team.
That is the right thing to do. If you remember vividly in our first interview, I told you that it would be a bad advice, security-wise, to encourage people or students, young people, to move out there for their safety when missiles are flying around and there's an open warfare, confrontation and hostilities between the forces of Ukraine and Russia. The best thing to do is to hold on till there is some form of ceasefire or there appears to be no more hostilities or missiles being thrown about. And once there is that free space, you can encourage them to move to neighboring countries like Romania and Poland for them to be evacuated to Ghana. So that technically is the best advice, and this falls in line with the earlier advice that was given by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration that they should seek shelter at very safe and convenient places till the right time.
Now, so remember that Russia has actually targeted, I don't know if they targeted, but at the strike they took affected civilians or where civilians were based. And they have come to explain that they didn't target it, they thought it was a military base. So, and you have said that sometimes in war, you tell a lie to defend what you do. Now, on an advisor, we tell our students or our brothers and sisters, keep, stationed instead of moving. Is that not rather putting them at risk because you're not sure if this enemy is telling you the truth or is lying to you?
Well, the reality of the matter is that whether they are hiding or they are moving, there's still open confrontation or warfare. And they are well protected, or they will be better protected if they seek shelter in these bunkers. Because Ukraine is a former Soviet republic in the era of the Cold War, because of the threat that the Soviets faced from a possible nuclear invasion or attack by the Americans, they built these forms of shelters and bunkers. And over there, it's basically safe to seek protection or shelter there. Most of them are underground tunnels. Some are even at their substations. And once they are there, they are more protected or covered than being exposed in the open space where they could be easily hit by a missile or even a bullet. So I think that was the best decision that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the directive that they gave, it was in the interest of the Ghanaian students. It served their interest and purpose well. And I believe that if they stick to it, they can seek shelter there so that when the time is right, they can be evacuated to Ghana.
I mean, if producers can put some of our bomb shelters pictures on air so that viewers will have an idea how these bomb shelters, because I was earlier on asking if these bomb shelters can prevent you from being hit, when a bomb explodes. I don't know. But
yeah, some of them were built as late as the 1950s.
Exactly. I mean, that's
60s,
what Benjamin was saying.
Yeah, 70s and 80s. So they look old, but they are very, very formidable. They can, with some of them can even withstand nuclear attacks. Some of them were well built in the 70s and 80s when the threat of a nuclear attack was so real between the US and the Soviet Union. So they may look old, not with architectural design or style, but it serves its purpose of protecting people or saving lives.
So maybe with you as an international relations expert, you can make us understand why in 21st century, we're talking about bomb shelters. I'm looking at them, and we're bringing back the conversation of the Soviet Union, and we're looking at conversations where a country decides to bomb another country because it feels threatened, and why international relations experts all over the world have not been able to give us a system where if there is a misunderstanding of this nature, we can tackle it, differently than the way it's going, where we're even predicting a third world war. Because we are already trying to recover from the impact of COVID. And all over the world, countries are trying to recover their economies. So we cannot afford to be facing a situation like this.
Well, one point that I failed to highlight during our previous discussion was that we should ask ourselves why Putin is attacking the West or Ukraine now, and not 4 years or 7 or 8 years ago when it invaded part of it in 2014. The argument is simple. The whole world economy has been disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic, from Latin America to mainstream Europe, North America, even to the Pacific and down the Atlantic. Almost all economies are going through some form of disruptions. Inflations are high, there are job losses. Even in Ghana here, people are complaining of some form of economic hardship because of the disruptions. Companies were virtually shut down for months, some a year or more. People were not working because of COVID. In the midst of all these global uncertainties, the world's so-called leader, the United States, its economy was nearly decimated by COVID. Its health infrastructure could not even withstand the threat of COVID at the peak of it. Mm-hmm. So America is focused on rebuilding its economy. Mm-hmm. Trump basically lost the elections because of his handling of COVID. Joe Biden promised to revive the economy. Germany is the biggest economy in Europe. And at the time, Angela Merkel was exiting office, they had run so much into debt. There were budget deficits, and journalists would ask her, why are you running budget deficits? And she's like, people are dying, people are hungry, there are no jobs. What do you want me to do? I have to borrow to feed the people.
Right.
So the global economy has disrupted. The focus now is restoring confidence in the economy. And Vladimir Putin strategically sees this as a weakness in America, a weakness in NATO, a weakness in the West that he can exploit. So he looks at how weak the world structure and system is. And you remember, America even had to withdraw prematurely from Afghanistan, and it led to people coming out in the assertion that the U.S. lost the war to Afghanistan. So he's exploiting all these weaknesses, and he's playing a game, and he knows what he's doing. The reality is that given the losses that America suffered in Afghanistan and Iraq, ordinarily any American will not support another costlier war in any other part of the world, especially with a nuclear power like Russia. So he knows that the optics may not favor America going into a full-time confrontation. And there's no way other NATO allies can stand Russia without the military background and military support or covering or umbrella of the United States of America. So Putin is exploiting all these things to his advantage. And if you put aside the United States, what are the three dominant other actors in NATO? You are talking about the Great Britain, France, and Germany. Germany, we should know, is not a nuclear power because of his defeat in the Second World War. France is not structurally that strong. The two parties that has ruled the country for more than 100 years, they've both exited the system. And we have a young Emmanuel Macron who is in, he doesn't know much about the international system and how it works. Boris Johnson has even been facing impeachment. Even in UK, they are trying to impeach him. There are calls for him to resign because of the parties that he threw with his cabinet during the COVID-19.
I thought they had thrown away their calls. Maybe
they are still there. So the guy looks at Putin looks at all these weaknesses within the countries in Europe, NATO, and sees that there's a chance for me to flex my muscle a bit. The guy is very strategic at what he's doing.
So do you see this as... let me go to Adib Sani on this one. Maybe that's more security, in that sense. Adib, can you hear me? Okay, I'm sure Adib is not there, so as and when he's restored. So I wanted to actually throw that question to Adib. If you see this as just a threat, because some analysts think that Vladimir will not stop at anything if he really wants to get this through until he removes the quasi-American government hand in Ukraine.
Well, I don't believe Vladimir Putin will go on the path of a full-scale war. He has played this game before, and trust me, he has a playbook and is willing to play by it. In 2008, amid escalation tensions with Russia, he bombed part of Georgia, invaded part of the country. We thought Putin and Russia were going for the full country. At the end of the day, they withdrew back and just held onto a small territory. In 2014, when they invaded Ukraine, they invaded the Crimea region of Ukraine. They could have gone a step further to take over the whole of Ukraine. He did not do that. Why? Okay. Because Putin knows the cost of a full-scale war with America and NATO is practically impossible for him. There is no way Vladimir Putin and Russia can withstand a full-scale war with America, Great Britain, France, Germany, and about 26 other NATO allies. He's going to be outnumbered. And these countries, some of them are also nuclear powers. Not talking about even beyond NATO, beyond Europe. You look at Australia, Canada, Japan, South Korea, who may be tempted to contribute troops to support the U.S. mission because they are all under the nuclear umbrella of American protection. So these are the intricacies that Putin will assess critically with his team of advisors before he makes his moves. He knows he doesn't have the strength and the might to go on a full-scale war with Ukraine. When the contest becomes tough, trust me, he will go for the negotiation table. Even as I was walking into the studio, there were suggestions that there has been a statement by the Kremlin that Russia is open to negotiations and they are ready and willing to send a team to Minsk to negotiate for a peaceful resolution to the ongoing crisis. Putin wanted the attention of the world. He has flexed his muscles. He's shown the world that at any time, at any day, Russia is not there. The old Russia can gain its seat or its prominence back in history. He's shown that to the world, and I don't think he has anything more to prove again. Even if Russia goes on an empire-building agenda to conquer other states around it, how is he going to administer or rule over them? This is not the 20th century. This is 21st century. States are supposed to be sovereign and independent, and you don't just use brute force to cajole people into submission. So it goes beyond just occupying territories. Right. You have the support of the very people that you want to rule. And one thing Putin is missing is that when the Soviet Union constituted about 16 states, those states did not join because Russia bombed them or threatened them. They joined because they felt Russia could give them the leadership, the economic package or covering, the financial support that they needed at the time. However, the Soviet Union could not do that. It collapsed. And as we are speaking now, can Russia and Putin provide that form of economic support? Are they appealing? Are they attractive? Putin should ask himself why other countries around him all want to be part of NATO, right, and they don't want to be part of Russia. So you don't use aggression, force, intimidation to win people to your side. You should pursue a much more lucrative approach economically to win their support.
I mean, powerful countries used to do that, but in the 21st century, it's really been a question on people's minds, and that's why people are asking a lot of questions. Why is somebody bombing somebody's countries? But I know there are also some countries you don't see military in their country. Whatever that means, why they are doing that, I don't know. But some countries still have militaries and have all the, missiles to fight if they want to fight today. We'll go for a break. We'll be back shortly. All right, we have a few minutes to go, but we still have Benjamin Boateng, who is our P.R.O for NUGS in Ukraine online. Benjamin, I'll allow you to give me some final words before I let you go. So we do not know what the foreign ministry is doing now, but we also have information that you had already had some communication with them. What are we doing from here? Where are we going from here? What information has come from our foreign ministry to you?
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so the information we've received from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is like you said, we've been told to stay. Right now, the interim plan is to stay and then stay in bomb shelters where they are saying we can have should I say, protection in these bomb shelters. And then the other information will be sent, of course, via the embassy to us, trying to get Poland and Romania also to help accept Ghanaian students into these countries. And so that's what we have. That's what we have heard.
Okay,
but,
so
yes,
how
yes, please.
your basic amenities, how do you provide it? Just if you're able to move into the bomb shelters, how do you provide yourselves basic amenities? Food,
yes, as of yesterday, we were told ourselves when we heard of these issues, we sent a communique across and told people to try and stock. If, for example, you are living in your own apartment, you are going to be in your own room, or of course, if you are going to these bomb shelters, try and get things that can keep you. So, I mean, for the Ghanaian student, they received this communique earlier, and then they were able to get to these grocery stores and then stock up. So. That's what we can say, but trust me, these things will not last. I don't think anybody can carry enough food that will keep him for 2 weeks, so it will not last. It will just be for a time being.
So you insist that you be evacuated?
100%. We will take this with both hands and feet. So,
how long do we have, a period of safety that we can work through in preparation to evacuate you?
There is no time. Actually, there is no time. Wow. Right now, nobody, from our point, even as students, of course, we are not analysts, but nobody can believe the words of Vladimir Putin now. Initially we heard he was at our border. Then we heard that, on one Wednesday he retrieved his borders. The next thing is that he has come. No one can take his words for what he's saying.
I agree with you because Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa faced a similar situation where, I mean, he was told that there wasn't going to be any invasion, so they should relax. Because people were calling at that time, I think 2 weeks ago or last week, that you'd be evacuated. Yeah, so he was misled.
So right now, to be listening to the words of Russia and then to be saying that, oh, we have time. These people said they are going to, attack only military bases. Okay, today, this and that. We cannot. The best thing is to get out of the country and then be safe. There are about 1,500 students in Ghana who are hoping right now that they will be out of these countries. People have taken matters into their own hands. They have paid extreme high monies to get themselves from one city to the other. And even at the borders, we are hoping that we can push through to these countries. And so the issue right now, it's not, we don't have time. We don't even have 1 second. We need to get out of the country as soon as possible.
Benjamin, I'm sorry about this. I wish you all the best. But we'll get back to you. We'll also keep tabs and see what we can do. Can we also wrap up with you here, Michael?
Well, I share in the frustration of Ghanaian students in Ukraine, living in a foreign land and then facing, you go to sleep thinking everything is all right, and then you wake up to the reality of war just before you. I share in their frustration and pain. And I believe that they should listen to the advice or the directive of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, stay safe, try and seek shelter in bunkers, and then when the time is right, perhaps when both countries agree to a ceasefire, they can leave to the next country and then be brought back home. Till then, they should stay safe. However, I think the international community should do more to push the part of diplomatic resolution to Vladimir Putin and Russia. Once Putin accepts the part of negotiations, they should go for it and try and end the ongoing onslaught of Ukrainians, because in reality, Ukraine cannot and will not be possible to stand the military might of Russia. We need peace, and the world will be better without a war.
Michael Kwadwo Nketiah is an international relations analyst. Thank you for joining us in the studio. We earlier on spoke with Benjamin Boateng, who's a P.R.O for NUGS in Ukraine. He's a student there. Also, Paul Frimpong, Economist, joined us, and Adib Sani also joined us earlier on. He's a security analyst. My name is Sani. Thank you for watching. We'll be giving you up to the minutes, updates of what's going on in Ukraine or between Ukraine and Russia. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon.